Hello, this is Cheryl Wilson, and thank you for coming back to my channel. And if you're new, thank you for joining me. I'm going to be talking in a series. I've already done two, and people seem to appreciate them and like them on what's working in abstracts and what isn't. And this is a 18 by 24. I call it Secret Predictions, and it's acrylic graphite oil stick which dries in 24 hours, pencil on watercolor paper. Now, just as up front, I'm an abstract painter, and I know not everybody likes my abstracts, but I do know there are people who like my style of work and say that my abstracts speak to them. So, an abstract painter, you're going to either really love their work or you're really just not going to like their work because their work isn't your style, or you're going to like some of the things they do and some don't. So, keep that in mind that I know that not my style is not for everybody, but I hope that what you take away from this series are some things that will help you in concepts that I have learned along the way. And I do know that it takes many, many, many abstract paintings under your belt before you really start to understand your style and the things that work for you. And that's what I'm speaking to when I do this series, is the things that hopefully I've learned that will in turn be able to help you when you get stuck in your paintings. All right, it's time to talk about the first painting that I did. And I liked it. I loved it. It has a lot of the things that I incorporated, the things I love. And I've talked about that in many of my videos within this painting. I love the color palette. I love the sgraffito that I put in here. I love the scratching in the paint, both the wet paint and dry paint, which I did with a couple utensils. I love using the black and white. So there's some things in here that I really liked, but it wasn't finished. And I've talked before about that fine line between knowing when something is finished. And I get a lot of artists that ask me, how do I know when my painting is finished? And a lot of times when somebody asks that question, their painting is not quite finished. For me, it's like I know when the painting is finished. It's like, wow, boom, okay, the painting is finished. It has in it what I like. So in this particular painting, some of the things that when I took it and you can do a couple things. You can take a snapshot of it and look at it on your computer. You can let it sit up in front of you for a while. You can do like a black and white version. But just looking at this, I noticed that I started a lot of my paintings, the underpainting, with the golden fluids and high flows. And it just seemed like it was flat to me, which a lot of people like just flat. But for me, I needed more texture. So I needed some thicker paint. And I knew I needed that. I needed to pull out some of my thicker tube paint or jar paint and attack some of the areas with a thicker paint. I knew it needed more contrast, like dark against light and light against dark. Those are the things that the eye absolutely loves. I noticed that the tones in this painting, except for the big black spot there, were all basically the same. So I know that I need my underpainting not to overshine or be louder than, say, some of my big splashy points, but the underpainting was boring. So I knew I needed to do something there. So I love that blue there, but up there on the top right, but I felt like I needed to make that more eye-catching. So I knew I needed to make that a little bit different color. I felt that the very big black shape, and then there's like a gray on the left side, were kind of the same. They're kind of like a squarish, and I felt I needed to have one more chaotic than the other, and different shapes. And I find when I do that, the eye tends to pop more, and you can actually start to see some of the sgraffito and scraping in the painting, which you may not see before. And as I mentioned, I felt like some of the shapes needed to be different. And I tend to do that when I first create a painting. The shapes all tend to start to be the same size. And I have to go back and make them different sizes. It may be something else for you. There may be something else that you do. Like maybe you continually to put your main painting right in the middle of the canvas, and it's like a bullseye effect. And you say, okay, it's like a normal thing I do. Then you've got to go back and maybe paint up some of the other shape and bring the shape in a different area so it's kind of off-centered, so it's not like the bullseye. So those are some of the things I felt was working, and some of the things I felt were not working so far on this painting. So here's where I'm at on the painting, and it's still not quite finished. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually scoot this over and add the first, really it wasn't the first layer, but it's the first layer that I showed you, so you can see some of the things that I did based on what I wrote down. And I also have mentioned there's a sheet that I use to talk to and write my notes on when I'm looking at a painting. So I hope that you go out, and I'll put the link below to my little PayHip store area. And some of the things are free. Some of the things you might pay $1 or $2 for that are guides that might help you. So we're going to pop up the other painting here so you can see the difference between the two, and I'll talk to it. All right, so on the right is where I took my notes and I changed the painting. Now you may say, oh, I liked painting one. Great. If you like your painting, that's fine. I paint from my soul. I paint what I like. And that's when I felt, when I decided to do that and take those risks to put a painting out there that maybe other people don't like, it doesn't matter, because no matter if I put version 1 or version 2 or my final painting, there's always going to be people who love it, and there's going to be people who say, I don't like that, I like trees, I don't like your paintings. That's fine. But for me, I wanted to pop this painting, and so a couple of things that I had mentioned, excuse me, the black I took and I actually used my fingers and I dipped it into the thicker black paint. Actually, it's black gesso, which I love. And I added that to the painting. And it gave me, using my fingers, gave me a wonderful free flow. And I made that shape very chaotic. I did go back in and add some more white on the top to give it the contrast. But I added a very chaotic black marks, and then I added some at the top. You'll see like a swirl up there on the top on the one on the right, and it completely changed those two shapes to two different shapes. I knew I needed some more black against white and white against black, so I went in there, and you'll notice on the top of the black, while I waited till it dried and did a swipe with the palette knife of some white. I took some white and kind of took the areas, some areas where I just needed to go back in and add. I added some 3 fingertip lines of white that kind of got blended with some of the ochre yellow type color. I added the blue. It's like a cornflower blue, which I absolutely love. I embellished that to help. So let's talk about what we're going to do next. One of the things I look at when I look at a painting is what area looks like I painted something over top and it's not layered right. And so if you look there at the very top, there's some sgraffito, which I love in pencil, or it could be graphite. And there's some of the ochre, the orange yellow ochre that looks like it's hidden. So I want to bring that out. And so you don't know which was added first or second. Then there's an area there where I look at that, it almost looks like a duck's head. So I don't like a visual that I keep looking at. I mean, every time I look at this painting, I'll see that. So I wanted to obliterate an area there that kind of blend in some more grays. So that's what I look at this point. What areas can I do fine tuning on? Again, I could post this painting and I would be perfectly fine with it, but there were some things that stood out to me that I personally wanted to change. So let me pop up the final painting for you to see what I mean by some of the final touches I made. So here's my final painting on the right, and you can see up there where it was the duck area. I've just gone in and made it look maybe like a dog, but I like it better. And then I took the sgraffito up over the yellow ochre in that one area. I added on the right hand side a darker charcoal over the white, again having a contrast between white and dark with each other. I may have gone in a couple areas and just highlighted more white. I didn't do a lot. I just added some tweaks that for me made me feel the painting was final. Again, this is, you're the artist, you're the one making these decisions, so it is up to your discretion what you want to do in your particular paintings. I'm just sharing with you some of the things that I do and the things I look at. And 5 years, 2 years down the road, there'll probably be a lot more that I have learned in painting that I would maybe change this up. But for now, where I am in my art journey, this is what I see in my particular paintings. And so I hope this has helped you and that you've learned something. Please give me a thumbs up if you've learned anything that I've shared with you. I put a lot of time into these videos, and I'm growing slow, but I would love to have comments from you and thumbs up so that the algorithm of YouTube will share my videos out there more so that I can help more artists like you.